So yes, we're here on Janus. A brave merchant ruined by his Goodbye. I was reading that. Brave merchant ruined by his competitors intends to attack Curlay, a flourishing world rich with fish and inhabited by a primitive people. The merchant intends to reward whoever provides assistance with the expedition with a share of the spoils. So we can give 5 weapons to get 7 provisions. We have far more provisions than weapons, so that doesn't seem like a good deal at the moment. We've picked up a ton of contracts in the time we've been away. They did say it would be shorter. That's a shame. Give up provisions to get promethium. But we also have a ton of promethium, though technically slightly less than provisions, so this might be a reasonable choice. Gargantuan Explorator mass transport is arriving from a long expedition. Its star hunting is taking longer than expected, and in its desperate need for provisions, water, and air, the captain is willing to show generosity. The ship's holds are brimming with plasma batteries. Sure. The Emperor's chains. Even a creation of as monumental as the God Emperor statue on Footfall requires regular maintenance. The station is willing to pay with thousands of mercenaries in exchange for a new set of chains to bind the asteroids to the statue. 7 plasteel to get 5 more people. We were low on people for a while there. 42. I thought we were down at like 7 last I checked. Not sure when that jumped up so high. But sure, we've got tons of plasteel. I'll take the people. Heirs. Powerful governor on the orbital palace station of Weta Weta has been sentenced to death by Lord Inquisitor Calcazar. Now is a good time to send agents to his domain to partake in dividing the late governor's fortunes, such as his phlogiston mines on the planet Curran. So we give up 3 profit factor to get 3 phlogiston? And we need phlogiston. We're down to just 1, but do I want to give up 3 profit factor? I'm not sure on that. Pyramids of Death. A gang of daredevils is looking for a sponsor for their suicidal foray into the jungles of the world Paranthos and the ancient Xenos pyramids located there. Should any of them survive and return with spoils, it'll be well worth the investment. Again, giving up profit factor to get Xenotech. Paying off a gang of daredevils. I don't really want to lower my profit factor. Xenotech currently isn't important. Mech Sages. The Imperial Navy has tried to conscript the Fellowship of Mech Sages on Larsheen, renowned creators of airborne machines by force. The brave technomats have decided to fight back, and now they require armor for their flying constructs. So it's a battle between the Navy and the Tech Priests. Ideally, I'd want to support both. They shouldn't be fighting. But mechanisms is a thing we've always been low on, so I will give up 5 adamantine for that. Disreputable deal. The once fearsome pirate captain known as Void Shark Lophem has decided to leave his old craft behind and try his hand at a calmer and more refined cold trade. He is willing to purchase his first shipment of forbidden goods by trading in the weapons from his infamous raider. Give up 3 Xenotech for more weapons. That sounds great. A group of rebels from the Void City Capestus 9 is looking for someone who could supply them with deadly chemicals to perpetrate an attack on the station's satrap. Should their request be satisfied, it will soon be time to send crews of void cutters to the station to salvage what remains of the metal husk. Give up 7 chemicals to get 12 plasteel. Probably not. And also helping rebels to probably kill everyone on a station. Probably not great. We'll call that good for now. We still have a quest from Chapter 2 that's unfinished as we're moving into Chapter 4. So yeah, the Lord Inquisitor wants us to go to Footfall. Determine the role of House Von Valentius in the defense of the Koronus Expanse. Go to Footfall and meet Xavier Calcazar. That sounds totally fine. Caligos Winterscale does not have the slightest concern for the events of the Koronus Expanse and instead prefers to spend his time hunting. Now may be a good time for the head of the Von Valentius dynasty to pay a visit to his eminent peer. Yeah. Let's get rid of the completed... Oh, we already had gotten rid of the completed quests. So, new quests. We've got Blood Ties. Huspersarian stands accused of treason. Right. Go to Dargonus and we are going to do the investigation ourselves. Adira with the door. Jai wants us to go check out Falco on Footfall. Makes sense. Certain message received by the Astropathic Choir. Disconcerted Heinrichs. Right. We need to go to Phtons 4. Okay. That'll make sense to me. How are our colonies going? Do we yet have access to higher ranks than rank 3? We do. We now have access to all the way to rank 5, in theory. Nothing new at the lower levels here. So are these also blocked off? Yes. So if I want to do Holy Defenders, I would need to do Crucible and Praising the Masses. And Praising the Masses is done, or Praising the Muses is done elsewhere, which makes it harder to keep track of. Sacred Comet needs Crucible. So you both need Crucible? Oh, they all need Crucible to be done before I can do any of these. And then these ones require other things elsewhere in the Protectorate. Gotcha. Crucible requires Phlogiston, which we don't have, but we could get. We've got that trade option. So let's see. False Wonders. By showing illusions to the masses, it is possible to gain a lot of attention and attract pilgrims. Ugh. One of the projects has been completed. Intrusive Footsteps or Crusade Shrine. That would just give us more profit factor and more people by creating illusions to trick the people. Not thrilled with that plan. Koronus Expanse is in need of a stalwart defenders, and Foulstone can help by sending its children to every dark corner of the sector. That one sounds good. Cost provisions, people, and weapons, but gives us complacency and security, but only here, not throughout the Protectorate. Lightbringers. With the warp currents tangled, refugees lose their way and perish in terror. The Rogue Trader can send out pious patrols to help those in distress and light warp beacons. Cost Prometheum Plasteel gives us a ton of reputation with the Navy and security everywhere. That one sounds great. Holy Ammunition, which we can't do because we don't have enough reputation, would give us weapons. And Crucible, we need the Phlogiston. And give us Holy Man feature, 10% damage for 2 turns, and plus 20 temporary wounds when the character uses their origin ability. Profit factor, provisions, complacency. Let's go with Lightbringers. Start there. Can we execute multiple at the same time? Yes. For a while there, I thought you could only do one project at a time, but then lately it seems like I've been able to do more. Let's get the Phlogiston. So to do that, we go to our journal, contracts. Which one gave us the Phlogiston at the cost of... Oh, right. We can get mobile extractiums. The cost of weapons. I think that's probably fair. Then I'll bring the world of iniquity to Imperial compliance and Cydia Corda. That's the other one. Corda is facing a prolonged campaign to weed out the planet's blasphemous element. She'll pay a generous price for the formidable steel giants of Kiava Gamma, vested in holy armor and armed with the Emperor's righteous fury. You can't, but if you have 10 complacency, you instantly complete the projects. Okay. Maybe that's what it is. So let's do this. Pay the weapons to get more of the mobile extractiums. Here we go. So 3 profit factor, which is a shame to get a bit more phlogiston. Then we go back here to projects. And I can work on Crucible as well, because we now have the phlogiston we need. So does that mean you have 10 complacency? Because I was not... Oh. We completed the reaping at Janus. More profit factor and provisions. Sure. Okay. Yes, we have 10 of each. That's neat. Lord Captain, the Crucible's great sculpting is underway. Foulstone is being transformed right before our eyes into a fertile world with lush groves and clean water. However, there is evidence that the Crucible has also created humans. Well, that's curious what you mean by the Crucible is creating humans. From the mouth of the relic came several thousand people who, speaking an archaic form of Low Gothic, demanded to be given orders. They cultivate land, build houses, and production facilities with obedience, and in general, have a remarkable range of skills and knowledge. However, it seems that these people completely lack their own free will, and for this, the monks have named them Touched. There is a split among the faithful, though many call it a miracle sent by the Emperor himself, and want to quickly put the touch to work. A part of the population is frightened by these soulless creatures born from the ancient machine. They demand that the planet's learned men intervene in the great sculpting and find a way to stop the production of the touched. How dangerous are these touched? They do not appear to pose a threat. The autopsy of several specimens has shown that they are physiologically identical to ordinary humans. No traces of corruption or xeno influence were found either. However, their obedience is a double-edged sword. They obey any orders without knowing or caring who gives them, and thus, nothing prevents a cunning intruder from bending them to their will, creating an army of obedient slaves or spies at their disposal. Okay, that's dangerous. One thing, my officers and advisors. They were begotten by the relic of St. Cognatius, which means their existence pleases the Emperor. Your people must be reminded that it is so. Arrange a public ceremony of the tonsure to initiate the touched into the Order of the Hammer, and a service dedicated to reading parables about the acts of St. Cognatius and his followers. Why don't you make the first move and assemble a mighty force from these touched ones? If they are so obedient and diligent, then they will make fine troops. Assign a loyal commander to each squad to keep an eye on them, and these strange people will turn from a threat into defenders of the Imperium. Lack of will, registering a high probability of manufacturing failure within the Crucible's sacred processes, it is recommended to dispose of the finished batch of units and halt production of new ones. The algorithm of the great sculpting requires further examination. Okay. I was assuming he would just say, okay, turn them all into servitors and then problem solved. But that was not his suggestion. I do think that there is some value in the idea of examining the Crucible further and seeing if we can correct what is wrong. If there is a way to give these people more intelligence, more free will. Part of me is wondering if they were like in stasis and just being set free and they're not actually being created, but who knows. So if we hold a public tonsure ceremony for the order with a service dedicated to St. Cognatius, that'll give us more complacency and efficiency and icons of the touched, which is sacred icons painted by the touched adorn the ship's decks. Enemy critical hit chances and warp damage against the flagship are reduced by 30%. That sounds nice. If we listen to Ulfar, we get more security and Crucible-born Tempest. The touched who were recruited as enforcers gave form to the ancient knowledge stored in their minds by modifying the void ship's weapons using sacred archaeotech. Long-range dorsal plasma macro cannons, which fire 2 shots dealing 26 damage per shot. I don't know how that stacks up to what we have right now, but it is one of these gold super equipments that are usually better. Pronounce the touched the prosperity, the order of the hammer. Let them continue to serve the faithful. Gain efficiency, lose complacency. Probably not that. Or Pascal's option. Gain complacency and security, lose efficiency, and wisdom extractor. All allies gain plus 5% armor and plus 5% critical hit chance. The Archaeotech secrets extracted from the heads of the touched were given to the gunsmiths tending the rogue trader's armory. I'm tempted by this one. The numbers go up unless they're maxed at 10, which part of me thinks they might be, because 10, having them all at 10 seems strangely round number. But nothing goes down, which is good. And reducing the damage we take. Like 30% reduction in warp damage? I don't know how often warp damage happens in flagship combat. Versus here where we get a cool new weapon, but I don't know how that stacks out. I'm going to do this one. Hold a public tonsure ceremony for the order with a service dedicated to St. Cognatius. I will draft a detailed plan of the ceremony and hand it over to the prelate. Under the guidance of the brothers and sisters of the Order of the Hammer, the touched carried on with their toils, cultivating the land and building new settlements. The public induction of the touched, along with their diligent service, eventually solidified their image in the minds of the people as the executors of St. Cognatius' will, sent to the faithful to ease their burdens during the great sculpting. Any concerns about the touched possibly posing a danger were completely dispelled. Yeah, and the numbers didn't change, so I think 10 is the max. Cool. So I want to read Crucible again, because I've clearly forgotten what that involves. After millennia of lying under a monastery, St. Cognatius' titanic machine will soon be launched. It will take resources to awaken the relic, but doing so will bring glory to the Von Valentius name. Right, I think I just clicked on that without actually reading this. So it's just some ancient relic that we ordered to have actually put into use. Okay. This one feels bad, but it also feels wrong to just leave something not done. So I'm gonna do it. We'll grab those false wonders. Okay, so we could do reliquary already, but it would stop the other two. So let's see which one we actually want to aim for of these rank 5s. The monastery, having been damaged by the launch of the Crucible... Really? Okay. Will be transferred aboard the Von Valentius flagship as a great reliquary and shelter for the Order of the Hammer. Okay, so we just move the whole monastery into our ship. Interesting. It would cost adamantine, which is fine. I don't think we're that... we're a little low. We give us Piety's Charge. A two-handed power hammer. All collisions caused by the Thunderhammer's pushing attacks deal 300% more damage. All targets hit by this Thunderhammer must pass an agility resistance test with a +10 bonus or fall prone. And then 5 profit factor. Holy Defenders. The monastery damaged by the Crucible will be rebuilt. While the cathedral is being erected from the ruins, the noble monks will scour the archives for any evidence of a familiar connection between St. Cognatius and the Von Valentius dynasty. So you rebuild the monastery where it stands, but also try and prove that we are somehow connected to St. Cognatius. More complacency throughout would be interesting. 5 profit factor. Did this one... No, this is just the profit factor. And then Arbitrator Solomon's Veer's armor. 5 deflection, 85% armor. Only 0.5 dodge penalty. Usually heavy armors is 0.75. So that's good. I mean, the character wearing this armor will dodge 2% of the average enemy attacks in this chapter. That's a terrible number, given that the penalty isn't that bad. This armor once belonged to Solomon Veer of the Adeptus Arbites. While pursuing the head of a major crime syndicate, Flavis cult, Veer went beyond the bounds of the Calixtus sector and his own jurisdiction. Outnumbered, he was felled by the criminal and his henchmen, but took them all out with him. His armor was kept in the reliquary of the Koronus Expanse division of the Administratum. When the wearer hits a criminal enemy, that enemy gains +1 stack of perplexed effect for 2 rounds. -10 on ballistics, weapon skill, intelligence, or perception. And has an additional +4 deflection. I don't know if that's already calculated into this. Okay. Neat, but not amazing. Or Sacred Comet. The holy remains of the monastery, which were damaged by the launch of the Crucible, will be transferred to Foulstone's moon. Equipped with drives, the weaponized moon will leave orbit and set out on a crusade as a temple comet. 40k is wild. They'll give 4 security everywhere. That's neat. Cost phlogiston that we don't have. And then Blessing of St. Cognatius. All non-Xenos allies gain +5 bonus to all their characteristics and skills. That sounds really good. I don't know. I'm not really against any of these. So I'll hold off. Let's see with Janus what we can do there. We could do the Science of Virtue now. We finally have enough reputation, apparently. Blocks Project Rose of Zamarkand. All of the corruption on Janus originated in the sophistries of unholy scholars. Reverend Hieronymus Doloroso, a preacher of the cult of St. Drusus, is going to visit Janus to perform the procedure of blessed delimitation of the agri-complexes and demarcation of the irrigation systems. Instead of relying on the advice of godless genitors, he will be guided by the wise examples set by hagiographies of the saints and teachings of the righteous scriptures, and the pious sacred geometry of the iconographers. May faith triumph over the sophistication of soulless metal. Huh. Interesting. Versus Rose of Zamarkand, which is what this one blocks, which would give us clandestine cultivation of a xenoplant that feeds on the blood of serfs, will allow the production of hallucinogenic poisons that contaminate the victim's genes. Wow. Everything about that is wrong. Definitely feeling the Science of Virtue above that one. This one blocks Dark Sages, and Dark Sages blocks that. So which of these am I going to aim for? We can't do either because reputation. Magus Biologists, custodians of Janus sacred irrigation plants, have taken an interest in the unique substance discovered on the planet. If provided with the resources for erecting a chapel, they will delve into the mysteries of the chemsynthesis, which can turn deadly toxins into basic substances needed for life-saving Medicaid kits. Very good. Versus, not all servants of the Omnissiah firmly adhere to the catechism of maintenance and operations. The Maltecs are defrocked clergy, another similar outcast who wander the Koronus Expanse in pursuit of undesirable knowledge, teetering on the brink of schism. A protector who gives them shelter, safety, and resources for their research will earn the gratitude. Casabal Commission has connections among the Maltecs and can secretly assemble an entire coven of the unholy sages on Janus so they may intrepidly study the mysterious Xeno artifacts found in abundance on this world. Probably not. So we're probably going to go with Science of Virtue and Capella Biologus. Okay. So for now, we'll start Science of Virtue, which will give us the Eyes of Joyeuse, where psi rating is increased by +1 against demons for each rank of dogmatic. You don't say. You don't say. I have lots of ranks of dogmatic, and you're telling me I can get like a +3 or something to my psi rating? Hello. Yeah. So that's going to take some time, because their complacency isn't up to 10. But that's fine. Dargonus, what do you got going on? Holy Prophet. The date for the payment of the tithe approaches. However, by making use of the corrupt practices of the administratum, one could find a way to keep both the psykers and the thrones. And I don't really want to use corrupt practices, but sure. Praising the Muses. This is one we needed for Foulstone, I believe. Patronage of the architects and other artists will allow the creation of amazing and monumental works marked with the Rogue Trader's likeness. Cost plasteel and adamantine gives us 5 profit factor. Neat. Pleasing the tired, the Adeptus Administratum's vanity may be indulged through the construction of a floating palace filled with helpful serfs and exquisite pleasures. Multiplied by the bribe, the scribes will be especially attentive to the Rogue Trader's wishes. Huh. Not really feeling that. Call to arms, which we need more weapons for. It's time for Dargonus nobility to forget their feuds and take up arms in defense of their native world. That's a decent option. Give security everywhere and more people, and a familiar power armor. Interesting. Terrible dodge penalty, but good armor, good deflection. Militia Navy. The great freedom accorded to the Imperial Navy will allow the mustering of impressive independent squadron not classified as pirates. Not classified as pirates, but are they pirates? All the inhabitants of the Expanse place their trust in the Rogue Trader during their hour of need. The flagship restores 33% to the cooldown of ultimate abilities at the end of the space combat. Red warp routes always become orange. Ooh. So we would no longer have dangerous paths. I like that one. And it's not blocking off anything else. Lastly, Bastion. By declaring Dargonus the defense center of the Koronus Expanse, the Rogue Trader will be able to requisition foreign vessels and collect additional resources from the population. Rogue Trader has received some of the best munitions and supplies for the defense of the Expanse, +2 to the plating of all sectors. Yeah. Let's start with you, Militia Navy. Vivo 6. Underground Workers. Takes mechanisms and gives us plasteel, which I don't care about. Gigantic machines will vaporize the rock in their path, clearing the way to valuable mineral deposits. The Surf clans operating them will never see the sun, nor will their descendants. That's fine, I just don't feel the need to give up a mechanism for plasteel. And Holy Servitude. The Drusians always need new pilgrims, and convicts will be an adequate fit for this role. I don't have a problem with creating more pilgrims. Vigilance. A marvelous compact weapon in the form of a ring that allows the wearer to fire a melta scorching shot once per combat. Interesting. More profit factor, more reputation. This blocks Lair in the Void. The abandoned Void Station in orbit around Vibo 6 may be turned into a secret den for the pirates of the Koronus Expanse. Okay, we're definitely not doing that. So, Holy Servitude seems fine. And this one blocks both. So what's your deal? Master artisans of the Adeptus Mechanicus deep in the mines of Vibo 6, where thundering seismic cannons will tear through rock to free precious ores. It'll give us even more mobile extractiums, which is great. So, yeah, more pilgrims or better mining. Probably this one feels better. It's interesting that this says it blocks Holy Servitude, but Holy Servitude doesn't say it blocks... Oh, yes it does. Okay. Definitely leaning Extractia Metallica in this case, so I'm not going to go with Holy Servitude. What do we have here? Earthbreaker, which needs the phlogiston. Okay, these aren't blocking each other. Pureblood. The rogue trader may grant the convicts the right to buy, with their labor, the freedom of their children born in captivity. I'm not opposed to that. Yeah. Let's see. Transurinate. I don't know that word. Transuranium's value is such that its open pit mining will be worth the thousands of lives lost to radiation exposure. Costs a bunch of people, gives us a bunch of promethium. Probably not. Acquiring captives from the enemies of humanity for use in forced labor is possible way to replenish the workforce. Probably not. Yeah, tanks are profit factor and security just to get more people. No. Navy whips. Disciplinary officers in the Imperial Navy will make for wondrous wardens on Vibo 6. Craven's Bane. It's a chainsword. More reputation, more complacency, efficiency, security. I don't mind that either. We'll go with pure blood first. And then, oh, this is another world that we can just do a bunch. So we'll get Navy whips as well. Using up 6 people to gain 12 promethium. Not feeling it. Need more weapons for this. An entire planetary regiment of martyr guardsmen. A gift from the rogue trader to the Koronus Expanse in its darkest hour. I do like that. We just need more weapons. And then this needs to have penal battalion. They all do. Okay. We'll get around to that at some point. Lastly, Kiava Gamma, which is all 10s. Neat. But we can't do anything. We can do flawless servitors. I stand corrected. Servitors are superior to an ordinary worker in every way. This blocks the vigil of the tech guards. Okay. Being efficient, durable, and devoid of service irrelevant brain processes, Kappa Gamma will have the capacity to provide the entire protectorate with servants of flesh and metal. Once given appropriate amounts of human raw materials, the new production line will be deployed in an ancient and venerated workshop decommissioned for preservation years ago by Lady Theodore's order. Boost efficiency everywhere, profit factor, and battle servitors. In ship encounters, the rogue trader squad is supported by friendly combat servitors, with no explanation of how that actually helps me. Versus if we want Vigil of the Tech Guards. Adeptus Mechanicus are concerned about the recent outbreak of heresy on Kiava Gamma. They offer to enter into a solemn alliance with the House von Valencius. Under its terms, an ancient workshop preserved by Lady Theodore's order will become the site of a Prioritas Scutarius, a factory which would produce the invincible tech guards. These unrelenting warriors, impeccable in their digital vows, will secure every Adeptus Mechanicus facility in the Protectorate. I'm not against that idea either, though giving me plus 10 tech use is kind of worthless. Security everywhere or efficiency everywhere? I don't know. I'll hold off. There, we've got that all out of the way. It's a lot of reading. So on Janus, we've got 2 quests already. No, 2 points of interest. Is that not quests as well? I mean, I wouldn't think so. We already looked through all of our quests, and I don't think anything was pointing us towards Janus. Yeah. Let's head back to the main map. An hour and a half into the stream. So is there anything new? We've got a new spot here. Okay. But realistically, no. There isn't really anything new. Now, Eye of the Magnetic Storm is one we've had our eye on for a while that we couldn't do because we needed a better auspex. And I think we finally got better auspex last stream. So let's head down to here. Check that out, and then make our way down to Furibundus to meet with the Inquisitor. Go to the world of Quetzaltemur. We have a few quests kicking around. I don't remember that one. Go to the world of Quetzaltemur. Is what? Here. So that's meeting with Caligos Winterscale. Okay. He's at the Nameless Star. Alright, we don't care about that at the moment.